She picked a hot dog up off the grill with her fingers, ignoring Buddy, who was minding it, and just started eating it. Just like that. Then she starts walking around, greeting everybody like she just seen them yesterday. Well, that got the women going. Some of them stepped clear aside as she passed by, looking her up and down like she was some kind of thing. And then they started wailing her with their tongues soon as she was gone. Lots of who she thinks she is, hot heifer, and like we supposed to forget everything she did, and so on. Welcome to Unpublished, a work in progress audio podcast by Denise Renee. Here I share past unpublished creative works, current writing projects, still in process, and whatever whimsical musings or deep thoughts I have about the creative process. If this is your vibe, then keep listening as I get into today's content. Hey writers, welcome to this episode of Unpublished and Change of Plans. So I believe I said in the last episode, as well as in my last episode of my Pages vlog, that I was going to do some reading from my upcoming book, Write Your Book, 10 Mindset Hacks to Move You from Fear to Finish. We're going to push that back because in true confession, February has just kind of like escaped me a little bit. I don't know what happened. January, I was so focused. I was on top of things. And then February just kind of like fell apart. So I realized that I did stop doing like some of, things in my routine. So I'm like, you know what? I need to refocus, get back into a routine and get back on it. So we're going to get back on it so that we can go ahead and in my next couple of episodes get you content for the forthcoming book and like get moving back on my edits again. So that's what we're going to do, child. So now I'm putting it out there, I'm saying it, and now I'm going to have to live up to my promises. So for today, what we're going to do is we're going to read a story that I mentioned, I think back in episode 7. I thought that I had read this already, and I didn't. I think I had planned to read it in the past, and I just, I wound up taking a 6-month hiatus. So I don't know. But anyway, I don't want to do too much chit chatting because the story. It's not that the story is long, but it is. Well, it's 7 pages. It's not that bad. But I do want to get into it, get it done. And then listen, Linda, listen, your girl. Okay, it's Wednesday. All right, it's Wednesday, February 26th, and not Saturday, March 1st. Okay, the day that this is gonna get published. All right, so listen, I'm doing great as far as I'm concerned. All right, all right. So we're gonna get right on into it. This is called Uncle and Rachel. And this version of it was dated 1994, January of 1994. So that is junior year of college. Yeah, because senior year of college would have been August, September of 94 into the winter of 95. Yeah, so, all right. Now, I know I've been reading a lot of older works of fiction because they're done or they're as done as they're probably going to be. I doubt very seriously. I don't know, maybe I might make a collection of short stories of my older short stories, but I do have a newer collection of short stories that I was working on last year. I did put it down in lieu of working on my nonfiction, but I will be picking that back up and I will bring that to you guys as I get back into it. I will definitely be bringing that to you guys. But this is just an easy way of me going back to older things that are pretty much in a finished form as they will be. As you know, I read these for the first time, so listen. And also, I want to say this story also has, like I mentioned in a couple of episodes back, that I'm not culturally African American. Culturally, I'm West Indian American, first generation. I was born here. I am a natural citizen of the United States, but Child, I better go get a copy of my birth certificate, child, because the way things are going. But anywho, um, so there are certain things that while I grew up in and around African American culture, I can't necessarily claim it as my own. And sometimes when I'm, like I said, this is back in college, me writing these stories or writing in a particular, trying to really get a particular affectation or particular language down, I think it's a little bit ingenuous on disingenuous. Yeah, that's the right word. I don't know. Whichever word is correct. I think it's disingenuous, but I'll just put it up on the screen now. I don't think it's really authentic for me to be trying to write this way. So I'm gonna kind of try to tone it down as best I can. But anyway, yeah, that's my only commentary and criticism um, about my writing at this time. But otherwise than that, I think these stories, well, you be the judge. All right, Uncle and Rachel. Everybody was suspicious when Rachel showed up at the reunion. She made that 103-degree day at Memorial feel like 500. See, every year around July, the Jackson Colbert family gets together, and she hadn't been for the past 3 times. I kind of figured all the talk just kept her away, but there she was out of the blue. I'll be damned if she wasn't wearing some tight red thing, sweat running down her brown legs. Had to remind myself she was my niece. Damn near upset the burger and 4 barbecue legs I'd already packed away. I was getting some more Evangelist tater salad when she drove her beat up Honda right up next to the grills. Editing. Right up to the grills. Where my pen? All right. You know, your girl always gonna have some kind of cute pen around. Right next to the grill. Just skip that. Boom. All right, let's try that sentence again. I was getting some more Evangela's tater salad when she drove her beat up Honda right next to the grills. Everybody near dropped what they was doing to look at her. She hops out of the car and tries to run her hand through that mass of whatever on the top of her head, like she had white people hair. And she goes, "Why so quiet, y'all? I thought this was a party," in that raspy voice of hers. She picked a hot dog up off the grill with her fingers, ignoring Buddy, who was minding it, and just started eating it. Just like that. Then she starts walking around, greeting everybody like she just seen them yesterday. Well, that got the women going. Some of them stepped clear aside as she passed by, looking her up and down like she was some kind of thing. And then they started wailing her with their tongues soon as she was gone. Lots of who she thinks she is, hot heifer, and like we supposed to forget everything she did, and so on. They tried to suck me into talking about her, but I just raised my eyebrows at them and kept my mouth shut. Because I ain't a man to get in the middle of no woman's gossip thing. So I just picked up my plate and backed away. But that's Rachel for you, I guess. She's always been that way. Always wanting to shock people and always doing a damn good job at it, too. Bessie came home one day when she was 15 or something. She was rolling around on the floor with some no count boy, in Rena's words. Her tiny breasts were in both of his greedy hands, and his mouth was where it shouldn't have been, they said. They tried to drag me into it by saying I didn't put a stop to it. But I said a woman's private stuff ain't none of my business. Besides, I was asleep at the time. I didn't hear a thing. Anyhow, I got a taste from some ribs, so I went over to Buddy. Poor scrawny kid was still kind of shaken up by Rachel. I think they started cousins. He a bit younger than her, like 19 or so. I don't know. There's about 50 adults and a bazillion kids, and I'm getting old. I can't keep track like I used to. Anyway, I go up to him and say, "That Rachel. Boy, she sure got those old goats wagging their tongues. Let me get some of them ribs." "Yeah," he said, kind of absently, looking off somewhere. I turned to where he was looking. She was over by some trees, resting somebody's chunky kid on her slender hips, and Bessie, one of my sisters, hobbled over there with her big breasted self and snatched the child from Rachel's arms. Bessie started yelling something about, "You ain't gonna teach no other girl in the family none of your tricks," or something to that effect. I had to turn around and laugh. Only Buddy wasn't laughing. He had that la la land look in his eyes. I said, "Rope it in, cowboy. You don't know how wild that one is. Besides, she your cousin." "Yeah," he said in his puny voice cracking. "Look, son, I know how you feel. See, if I wasn't her uncle, I'd show her a thing or two." He didn't say nothing, just stood there mute. So I turned to go find a place to eat my ribs. I should have known she was behind me. I smelt her. Smelt her perfume and funk. You know, woman funk. She looked me flat in the eyeballs, turns on that voice of hers and goes, "Hey, uncle, might not want to eat those ribs." She looked me down real slow with her round eyes and put a skinny hand on my gut. Her touch burned. I felt the sweat run down my back even faster, but I pulled myself together and I says, "Well, howdy, Miss Rachel. How you keeping these days?" "See, uncle, that's why you've always been my favorite. At least you say hello to me." Well, I felt I should at least try to smooth out my sisters and everybody else's meanness, so I said, "Well, some people just don't always know how to forget stuff." "Rachel? Rachel, girl, is that you?" The sister of some cousin friend who lived down the block from us when they was kids, whose parents I forgot, came up running behind her. They started squeaking and squawking, hugging, and all that female stuff. All pairs of eyes all of a sudden were stuck on them two, who didn't seem to notice a bit. Well, I noticed, and I noticed that I didn't want to be chewed up later about talking to her, so I hot footed on out of there. The grass underneath my bare feet was scorching from the heat. I felt like I was crossing the Sahara looking for an oasis. I chose a safe table to sit at. Larry, my sister Emma's son, was there with Seth, and Parker from the Colbert side. My other sister Rena's son, Kid, was there, and we didn't know where Bessie's Reggie was. It was kind of a firstborn sons meeting. We were all our mother's first children, and I was the oldest. "Hey, Uncle, come sit down. Let us take care of those ribs for you." Parker laughed in that big voice of his that always used to give me the creeps. I sat down next to Larry, who leaned over and said, "You see that? You know all our phones are going to be ringing off the hook tonight." "Yes, Lord, these women is having themselves a gossip buffet," Seth said with his short self, jumping in. "Hey, Parker, you going to finish that coleslaw? Boy, you better respect your elders and get your eyes off my plate. Come on now, y'all. There's some high drama going on out there. Better than boxing. And y'all thinking about food?" That was Kid. Justin, he sounded like one. "You better believe I'm thinking about food. And if you was smart, you'd know to stay out of women's gossip thing. I learned that the hard way." I expected to only put my 2 cents in and eat in peace, but no. Someone had to say something. "That's right. You used to live with all of that mess when Bessie and them was all at Baker Street." "Man, I don't know how you did it. Aunt Bessie and Rena showing up for trifling. And strict. I don't even know how they let a thing like that happen." "Oh, come on now. It ain't all their fault. They did the best they could." I felt like some sort of traitor saying it. But somebody had to defend my sisters. I'm the only one left alive who will do it. But what can you do? I guess when you gotta raise someone else's wild thing. I don't know what Penny did to that girl. Don't y'all go speaking ill of the dead now. I couldn't stay silent on that one. Penny ain't had nobody to help her with that girl. Well, I guess you can't expect much out of that Jefferson fella. Boy, Rachel sure is her daddy child. Ain't like I ain't tell her not to be careful with that hot fella. Rachel a wild one, all right. I heard she been working that strip by the wharf. Then Seth had to put his foot all the way in it and say, "See, women can't tell a story straight. She ain't no street hooker. She be doing that exotic dancing stuff at that place on 4th Street. Dang." Now that just perked up Larry, Parker, and Reggie's ears, who had since joined us and jumped into the convo. "Now where you hear that from? Sounds like you got first-hand info." "Yeah, Seth, how you know all of that? You be going to those places?" "What's the matter? Sarah don't do it good enough?" Wrong as it was, even I had to laugh at that one. "Oh, come on, y'all, don't go there. See, I only went because that's where they was taking the boss for his birthday, and I couldn't back out." Like we were supposed to believe that. I could hardly hear what the boy was saying. Those guys were laughing so loud. I wanted to laugh too, but I had to keep a straight face because here came Bessie, poking her breast and her nose where it wasn't supposed to be talking about. "Reggie, what you over here cackling like a pack of hyenas for? Uncle, why you can't keep these boys quiet? You's their elder." Now, if there's one thing I can't stand is my baby sister trying to boss people around, least of all me. So I says, "Look at here, Bessie. If these boys, then you must be a girl, 'cause all I see is men here." They all started whooping and banging on the table of that one, egging me on. "And anyway, you don't see us going up to you trying to find out what you women be talking about. Not like we don't know anyway. Besides, this here is a picnic. Go find something else to do and leave us be." I put the last piece of rib in my mouth for emphasis. I must say, I was good because she just huffed and walked away because she couldn't find a comeback. Good going, Uncle. Ain't nobody able to stand up to her like you. Ain't she the youngest? Yeah, and she ain't even pushing 70 yet. And Emma's older than her. But I guess she ain't got used to the fact that there ain't nobody left for her to get bossy after. I felt a history lesson coming on, the way they was looking at me so intently. So I go on. See, Penny was much younger than her, so she took to playing mommy. Then after her own kids moved out, that's when Penny passed away and took in Rachel. Rachel was 10 then, I think. I was living there then, and so was Emma after Martin passed. And till then, she only had her youngest, Buddy, to push around. Then she kicked Rachel out after the thing happened. Then I left, then Emma, then Buddy. Listen to him when the thing happened, like it was some sort of disease. Man, all skipping the most important part of the story. Yeah, you probably the only one who know what really happened. I didn't like where the conversation was going, so I said, y'all getting just as bad as the women. Why y'all can't leave well enough alone in the past? She a bad apple, man. Was she a bad family apple, man? I snapped back. But come on now, Uncle. We ain't never gonna get that story straight from the women. They just say she a hot heifer and leave it at that. But you was there. She wasn't all that bad as they say, was she? It's stuff like that that made us call Kid Kid. He's so dumb. Look, why don't you give Uncle a break? He been through so much. And I know it ain't easy living with those two women because I did it. Now he obviously don't want to talk about it. Now why y'all ain't got sense like Reggie over here? I asked. I was thinking maybe Bessie had done right by this one. And then he had to go messing things up by saying, but you know, women don't ever carry a word straight. That got us all thinking all kinds of stuff. Like it was some dude down the street. Who that now? I heard some dude down the street just walk in the house and felt her up. Yeah, well, I heard she just walked right up to him and flat out asked him for a ride on his dick. See, that's just crazy. What did 12-year-old know about all that? She was 12 then, right? Oh, come on, y'all. Why can't you just believe that she said the guy did it and leave it at that? I was getting real burnt. Why she gotta be a slut at 12? Y'all just as bad as the women. But we want to know which guy. Y'all just as bad as the women. I started raising my voice, and a few people looked over our way. But at this point, I didn't care. What you gonna do if you know? You gonna find this guy and kill him or something? They got laws against that shit now, you know? Then here come Parker, trying to sweet talk me, talking about, hey uncle, they was only questions. We just want to get the story straight. Cause I heard she got bounced because she got knocked up and then got rid of it. Now you gotta understand that by this time I was really ripped. Not only because they couldn't let it rest, several people around had caught a drift of the words and had gathered round to hear the men talking like the women. So no one was really paying attention to who was standing next to who and who heard what. I don't think we'll ever figure it out. So it should be no surprise to you when I say that all of a sudden we heard this voice go, so why don't none of y'all get up the balls and ask me? Everyone looked around for her. She was kind of on the outskirts of the little circle that had formed against her. Even people at the other picnic site noticed the silence and turned to stare. Rachel was standing there with grass in her hair and somebody else's little knee biter in her arms. She let the kid down, who started one fit of crying. Its mother went to snatch him up, while Rachel stood there with her makeup looking overworked in the heat, hand on her small hips, staring us further into silence. I was swearing to myself because I didn't know what she was going to do next. That child didn't seem to understand the difference because he wiggled out of that mother's arms and tried to cling to Rachel's legs as she was walking back to her little Honda that was parked by the grills. Buddy had since stopped minding the fire. By the time that little putt-putt pulled out of sight, the only thing left of the fire was soft orange coals, sending up a weak trail of smoke. I seem to have had a knack for doing these like big group ensemble things where there's a whole bunch of people, different people talking, and it's like really these community scenes. I will say, that is something that I definitely grew up with, a lot of community talk and kitchen table talk. There's a lot of kitchen table talk in the Caribbean household, let me tell you. But I hope that you enjoyed that story. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I know that this is not a hugely watched part of my channel, but I do it because I enjoy it and I want to share. And I also would just want to let y'all know that your girl writes fiction. So there's probably more that I could have done with this story, but at the time I didn't do it. And this is all I got. So I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next episode of Unpublished. And if you want to check out some more of my fiction, then check out this playlist and let me know what you think.